Hello and welcome to The Last Word on Spurs. We hope you're keeping very, very safe and well. Thank you so much for joining us for instant reaction to Tottenham Hotspur beating Manchester City at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. I'm joined by three great returning guests to The Last Word on Spurs. We're joined by the brilliant Richard Cracknell, the superb Darren Hartman, and the brilliant Russ Williams. We're going to be guiding you through Tottenham Hotspur's win against Manchester City as we discuss the players, the manager, the assistant manager even as such, and also how big that result could be in Tottenham Hotspur's season. Massive, massive result. And I say, delighted to be joining you live for instant reaction to the game. Before we get into that, we have to, at the top of the show, remind you that we're absolutely delighted to be sponsored by the Beavertown Corner Pin. That is the Beavertown bang opposite your South Stand. Now, again, very excited. There's amazing screenings are back underway for a number of Spurs' televised away games with next upcoming Leicester City. So you can book your spot right now by going to beavertownbrewery.co.uk/pages/corner-pin. Right, the housekeeping is out of the way. Now it's time to get into the real business, what we're here for. Cracks, let's open up the show with you if we can, because I tell you what, arguably, definitely Spurs' best performance of the season by, in my opinion, a country mile. One of the best, you'd arguably say, in the Antonio Conte era, and he wasn't even bloody there to see it. Kane making history, everyone contributing, to be fair. Bentancur was excellent. Dyer back to his best. Emerson Royale, I know, again, we've been critical of Emerson Royale on this show. Probably, again, for him, one of the best performances in a Spurs shirt. And for those that are watching this show on YouTube and for those on audio, in your name on this show, it says, "Who is Pedro Porro?" I can't quite believe what I'm watching. Cracks, sum up that incredible performance from Tottenham.
Oh, wow. Where do you start, Rick? I mean, there's so many little sections within that where you've got to give props to people. I mean, let's start off with the team that have stepped up today. You can just tell that, you know, they've come together as a team. They've gone, Gaffer's not here today. Gaffer's not well. Gaffer's had an op. Let's go out there and win this today for the Gaffer. They've gone out there and done it for the Gaffer. And I mean, if that doesn't tell you where the players are with the Gaffer, never mind where we are, because we just support this team. They have to play for the Gaffer. They're with him week in, week out on the training pitch. And they've gone out there and done it for him today. So unbelievable. Of course, Harry Kane, I'm not going to even mention him till you get to him, Rick, because like he's a section on his own. But Emerson Royal today, just wow. And do you know what? With Emerson Royal, and I'm part of this, I'm sorry to say, but he gets some stick, and I've given him some stick, and I keep putting the picture up of him on social media, mocked up as the old man from Squid Games that just seems to get through every round somehow. But, like, listen, that boy gets some horrendous stick, absolutely horrendous across the socials, doesn't he? And in the stadium. And do you know what? He chews it up and he spits it out and he just comes back for some more. So, if nothing else, Emerson Royal's stick ability to absolutely not doubt himself and to back himself every time. Today, he was magnificent. Sorry, Emerson Royale, I'm going to issue you a humble, heartfelt apology because I've given you some stick, but today you have absolutely torn it up. And I sincerely want to apologise to him because that man has got a heart of a lion, an absolute lion, that boy. And today, wow, I'm waffling, Rick. Carry on.
You waffling? Never. Don't buy it. Dale, let's come round to you. I mean, look, we laugh and joke off air, but that was a proper Antonio Conte display, albeit, as we said, in the absence of the great man, committed defending. I have to say, at times, our football today was thrilling on the eye to watch. And I genuinely mean that if you're serving that kind of football up every week, there will be no dissent, no concerns about the way Spurs are playing. And even within that, the counter-attacking football, there was some pure utter shithousery from Tottenham, which I absolutely love because you need that in a winning side. And that's exactly what we saw from Tottenham. Harry Kane, 267 for him. Of course, Harry now taking that record. Dal, I have to ask you this now. Is this finally the moment in when our season takes off?
I'm going to say yes. I'm going to have to say yes, because today the formula worked. Everything worked. Every man worked. The system worked. The fans worked. Emerson Royale worked. It all worked. And that's what we have to celebrate. If we can't look at this as what propels us forward, I don't know what sign we can look for. This was beautiful today. The team was phenomenal. The system was phenomenal. There were so many cracks. You hit the nail on the head. There's so many little bits to break down. There's so many different sections to look at. It was phenomenal. And listen, people, you know I've been here for a minute. You know I've been here with you, Rick. You know I've never been one to jump on Emerson Royale's back.
He's a regular on it. You know it. You know
I've not jumped on Emerson's back, and I've been trying to find the positives in him. Today, people, you can see it for yourself. There were so many, and I feel that if he continues growing like he is, as Crack said, the passion that this man has, the balls that he has to stand up when Spurs fans are ruining him, and the money that he's investing in himself to improve himself. This player here could be one that we look back and go, what a transformation. I don't know where it will take him, but from what he was to what he's becoming, I'm super impressed. And we have somebody to push him on now, someone to really go, watch me, this is how you do it. I'm in a good place right now, and I made it out of the car. Hey!
He did make it out of the car, believe me. We won't tell you where he's been, but he did make it out of the car, bless him. The wonderful Darren Hartman. Love having him on Last Word on Spurs. Russ, to come to you. I've got to say, Russ, not only did we beat Man City, in my opinion, we actually fully deserved it because we were excellent today. I actually was lauding the Everton-Arsenal game for seeing a real committed Everton side, a real team performance against Arsenal. And I watched the Arsenal game and Everton thinking, I wish I could see my team do that. And by God, today, watching our performance, we delivered that. Everybody was superb. Emerson Royale, as I said, he's taken a huge amount of stick on Last Word on Spurs. Many would say justified. Many would say, look, he's a young player developing. My argument has been that he's not probably playing in the right position. But boy, today, did he really put on a decent performance. And again, 5 visits to the Spurs' new stadium for Man City, 5 defeats, not scored a single goal in any of them. I don't want that to detract away from the performance, Russ. How would you sum up how good that was today from Spurs?
Well, first and foremost, I'd like to wish everyone Happy Harry Day. We're going to come on to St. Harry a little bit later on. I thought that today, and we were just chatting before you started, albeit late, Ricky, the show.
Hold on a second. Mr. Hartman here out of his car at an ETA of 7:32.
I'm conscious of the time, Ricky. Conscious of the time.
I totally agree with you and what we were saying before we started the show, that was a bunch of players playing for themselves and in particular the manager, which I think is a good sign for the future because I'm a self-confessed Antonio Conte fan, as frustrating as a football can be sometimes, and I'll join crackers. I mean, I have been fairly disparaging towards Emerson Royale, but there have been glimmers, haven't there, in a couple of games previously. But today, I mean, there's a man who is a strong man, who is prepared to carry on his shoulders all of the criticism that all of us, if we're honest, have leveled at him, and I think it's a tremendous characteristic to have, and to see him playing football and winning as a player for us. And I don't mean the game, but I mean the way he's playing and the way he's winning the fans round is absolutely magnificent. As for Manchester City, I'm glad that we've beaten them yet again. They still haven't scored a goal at our new stadium. Long may it continue. I don't care about the repercussions for other teams. This is a victory for Tottenham. We're now just behind Newcastle, top 4 for us, and our future as a football club, I feel, not only for some of the players, but to be able to buy sensibly and well in the transfer market and be backed by the owners and to keep our manager. A lot of it depends on top 4. And the only blot in the copybook is Cutie getting a red card. The first yellow for me definitely wasn't a yellow. The first one, the second one, I think we'd all agree it probably was. So missing him is going to be a problem. But I'm optimistic going forward that this second half of the season, rather like that we play games We're starting to come good, and next game's difficult at Leicester, but hey, let's take it, because City, even though they're not firing, are still one of the best teams in the world. I'm not sure they're the best team in the world, but they're not far off it. And so we've got to be very proud.
Absolutely. It's not often, I also got to say, you see Arsenal fans in a Last Word on Spurs chat actually celebrating a Spurs win wherever we come to. But again, I will say that today, that I think, Cracks, you said this actually in the build up to kickoff, that, look, forget about, rivalries here. This is about Tottenham, and any Spurs fan coming into this game not wanting Tottenham to win would sound absolutely insane, because, there's 17, 18 games left here. Spurs, by beating Man City today, that's not going to decide the title. It's not, believe me.
No,
Arsenal have got some big games coming up. And look, I don't want to talk about our rivals. It's not a time to mention them. They're playing ever so well, despite yesterday's defeat. Again, they've got to go through some really, really testing times for them. And believe me, look, today going into it, there shouldn't be any Spurs fan disheartened or, dissenting that we've beaten Man City. We can control what we've got. The Spurs now in a brilliant position where, look, we're on the clutch of that top four again. We're in the FA Cup. We've got a great Champions League doubleheader to come. Enjoy it, because, look, we've had a tough season as Spurs fans. And when you see a performance like that, if you can't enjoy that, then it makes you wonder, if you've got to be able to enjoy moments like this. You really, really do. And Cracks, just to come back over to you, look, I mean, that is now 3 wins in a row for Spurs in all competitions, 3 clean sheets. It does feel, Cracks, look, I don't want to get too carried away here, because we've been here before, we'll be there again. It does feel like that tide is slowly turning around now, where it might just be a pivotal moment in the change of our season. How much could that be the case for you, Cracks?
Well, listen, firstly, let me just come back to the Arsenal fan that just put a comment up. And there may be a little bit of devilment there with obviously being happy that Spurs won today, because it helps them out. But I do know that opposition fans watch this and actually genuinely enjoy it. So, Rick, that's hats off to you, mate, to be honest, for putting together a good show that's, doesn't...
It's the guest. Look, again, Crack, bless you. You, Darren, Russ, the guests make the show what it is. I'm just driving it, but bless you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, but you put the blend together, and we come together and we try to, talk about things sensibly, and, we be constructive with any criticisms, and you just put together a good show. And if fans of other teams are enjoying that as well, because of the content's balanced, then happy days, so you're in a good place, despite what maybe some elements of our own fan base tell you, then that's where you need to be. So,
and the viewers make the show. I must add that. Listen, there's over 1,000 of you watching it. The viewers make the show. Without the viewers, there is no show.
Yeah. Of course. And again, the amount of messages I get, and when I go and do Legends Nights, people come up and say, I enjoy Last Word on Spurs. It's lovely to hear, and that's why we gather and do it, because people enjoy it and people get it. So, look, to go back to the other point of the performances, yes, the last 2 or 3, there does seem to have been some green shoots of recovery. I hate to use that phrase, because it got used once before by a certain political party that said things are on the up, and they wasn't quite. But look, you look at players like Sonny. Today was fantastic again today. He seems to have got the smile back on his face. So if you use Sonny as the barometer and the weather vane, if you like, of what's going on, and you see him happy again, playing again, making those runs again, then something's happening, isn't it? Something's clicked, something's turned, something's come together, and whatever may have been going on around the team, the shackles seem to have been released, and they seem to have come together. And the last 2 or 3 performances have been better. So maybe like a lot of the games under Conte, individual games where the first half can be forgotten about and the second half is a lot better. Maybe the season's going to be like that, Rick. We can only hope that from today that we kick on yet again and we go yet again. We're still in the FA Cup. We've got a Champions League double-header to look forward to, as you say. We're up or around 4th place. I said to you maybe 3-4 shows ago when I was on, Rick, that when it was real doom or gloom, maybe things aren't as terrible as they're perceived to be. Maybe just a couple of tweaks and a couple of things going our way and a couple of clear the air meetings amongst the team might just turn things round. And at the moment, that's going the right way. Oh, listen, we might go to next week and get beat 3-0 and it just looks awful again. But that's next week. Today is today. And it's great. If bottle that today, take that into the rest of the season, you're not going to be far off. You really are not going to be far off. But
Agreed.
Another thing I've always said to you, Rick, football, I think 80% of it gets played between the ears.
Mentality.
And not in your feet. Now, how can you go 5 games? That's 470 minutes with extra time, like added time, against Man City, not concede a goal, win every game. This is the best team in the world, like by a country mile as well, by the way. But yet, when we come up against Liverpool, we come up against Arsenal, we come up against Man U, come up against Chelsea, and we just can't seem to do it. So it's up here, Rick.
Yeah.
Start beating those other teams like Liverpool and Arsenal and Man U at home. Start doing that to them. And then all of a sudden, that gives you some belief to do it away. And then you've got something. You really have got something. So it's funny. I don't know whether they've got like some sort of hump with us they can't get over, or we've got some Indian sign over them. But it's madness, isn't it? But is this not why the Premier League is the greatest league in the world to watch? It might not be the best football in the world, but it's the greatest for the people to watch because these things go on in the Premier League.
Agreed.
It's madness.
I don't want to keep referring back to that point, but again, I think you saw that Saturday's game with Everton. You know, that is why the Premier League is a great advert because you can have the team that are 19th or 20th and bottom of the league beating the current leaders of it, and I think that is what makes football. And again, today, for example, you look at the
Rick,
players.
Everton's last 7 managers have all won their first game. It's like their last 6 or 7. Their first game. What they need to do is they just need to change manager every week. They'd win the lot, wouldn't they? They'd win the lot. We need to play. If we play Man City every week, we'd win the lot.
Mashiri's been changing them like they are going out of fashion. So
it's bonkers. But that's why we love football because it is chaos. It's not science. It's not an exact science. The great Danny Kelly told me that once when I interviewed him. He went, "I love football because it's chaos. It's not an exact science. There's no science to it at all. It is chaos. Football is chaos, and that's what we love."
It is. Lots of comments coming in from here. We'll just read a couple of them out. Patrick says here, spot on crackers. The whole team played like lions today. So proud of the boys. Richard says Emerson has finally left the favelas. Have I pronounced that right? Please let me know if I haven't. Yeah. An outstanding performance and shining example of how Conte shapes a wing back. Get well soon, boss. And we most certainly echo those thoughts. Wishing Antonio a very speedy recovery. We know that he did FaceTime Harry after the game and said how proud he was of him. You can imagine Antonio was kicking every single ball, bless him, back in Italy. And again, Russ made that point at the very top of this show that, there's no doubt today, when you watch that performance, that's a team playing for the manager. That's a team playing, for him, with him, whatever's been happening behind the scenes at Tottenham. There's been lots of noise. But, I've got to say this Spurs team over the last couple of weeks, despite all of the background noise, seem to have almost got themselves, away from that, huddled themselves into a group and not allow any of that outside noise, which there's plenty of that. And a lot of it, I have to say, is justified. Enter that training ground. Spurs Marco says, and I actually agree with this, Romero is a real issue. Needs to temper his challenges to the opposition half. They're not necessarily, in most cases, we are fortunate it didn't cost us. I know Russ made that point at the very top of this show that arguably you could argue that first yellow card probably was a bit harsh. But I do agree, Romero in himself, the nature of him, the rashness, we can't afford that. He's missing now for Spurs in a crucial game against Leicester City. I don't believe there's an option, of course, to actually have that reviewed because it was a second yellow and not a straight red. So Romero will definitely miss that game. Russ, if I can just come round to you, Pep Guardiola's just been out in his press conference. And listen, this is why we love doing Last Word on Spurs, because we always try and bring the pressers into the conversation. So Pep said on Spurs, they defend with 9 players really well. The squad is fantastic. I think we always play really well against them. But for whatever reason, we cannot seem to score or win. He said, we started really well in the first 15 minutes until the goal. And after that, played a good first half. Second half, not as good. There were too many interruptions and we could not get any control of the game. We had our chances against a team that defend very, very well. Do you agree with that? And he also went on to say 2 weeks ago, we were just able to come back from 1-0, just this time of a different stadium and the interruptions. It wasn't meant to be. How do you take his comments for you there, Russ?
I think most of it is pretty accurate. I did think that Andy Madley, the referee, is that green band a learner referee? Is it?
No, from my understanding, I think it's a weekend. I think it's the festival of the.
Hello, Rick.
I didn't get that, did I, Russ?
What a big one.
That's the late nights. You've got me there.
I didn't think the referee was great, and he was quite abusive, Guardiola, in the last sort of 5 or 6 minutes, including stoppage time. I'm a reasonable lip reader, and he was pretty abusive to Andy Madley, and I think that City probably had a case for 1 or 2 decisions going their way, and 1 or 2 of the free kicks that he gave, particularly in midfield against us, were absolutely laughable, I thought. So that annoyed me when I was watching the game. But look, the reality is they're money bags. They're expected to win every game. And they came up against a team of very determined men who were definitely playing for the manager. And I think they were actually playing for us. The fans as well, because we've lost our patience with them a few times this season, and I think there has been a meeting, and I think they were playing for us too. So if he wants to play bally football, Pep Guardiola, he's not going to do it against Tottenham Hotspur, and based on what I saw at the weekend, he's not going to be able to play that way against the likes of Everton and what have you. So it was interesting. Ricky did say we're not even thinking about being champions at the moment.
Russ, I know you started it. I'm getting battered, Russ, after you literally reeled me in, threw me back out.
Ricky gets battered everywhere he goes. Ricky gets battered everywhere he goes.
I'm not sure that to conclude my thoughts on Guardiola and City, I am not sure that they look right. I don't know what's the problem.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I can't put my finger on it. Don't know.
Yeah, even today, though, Russ, just to let you come back on that point, De Bruyne starting on the bench, actually not coming on until very late in that game. Was you quite surprised, Russ, by the lineup by City? Yeah. Or
I was. And Guardiola was asked about De Bruyne, wasn't he, before kickoff? And they said, is it tactical? And you just went, I think he doesn't think De Bruyne has been playing the way that he knows he can play. And that's his prerogative as a manager, isn't it? And I think once Guardiola starts chopping and changing his illustrious personnel, and that includes people who are in that club who expect to play every game, then I think you create a few problems. And they do look like a team who are a bit shot shy. And I think defensively, City are not as good as they have been. And I think that's one of the reasons we managed to get at them so much today.
I agree.
And actually should have had more than 1 goal. I mean, Harry could have had 2 or 3, couldn't he? That would have been lovely. Yeah. But look, we won 1-0 and I'm absolutely over the moon about it because it's fantastic.
We do. Do me a favour, Russ. Chuck me a green band for God's sake and save me here. Right, let's come around to Darren. Oh, yeah, that's true. 2 on both arms here. Darren, let's come round to you. Interesting, Guardiola was reminded of that Harry Kane team comment and said, I'm not going to say the Harry Kane team won, otherwise Poch will be grumpy with me and I don't want that. On behalf of Man City, I can say congratulations on this incredible milestone. He's an exceptional player on Harry. Just some really nice words there from Guardiola. We're going to come on to, obviously, Harry in a little bit of this show, but Guardiola, overall for you there, Dal, accepting of the defeat? It sounds like they've got big problems there, City. Not taking anything away from our performance today.
Yeah, City have got problems. If you're on Man City TV, if you're watching it from the outside eye, they've got a lot of problems. Guardiola's making decisions that people can't understand. I feel that there's unrest in their squad. I think a lot of players have got a bit complacent maybe, or they're not enjoying the system anymore. kind of what's maybe happening at Liverpool. That idea of you can maybe overstay your welcome a little bit, and if you've not refreshed the squad enough, things can work. Also, from an outside eye looking in, it's like they don't know how to play with Haaland. And it may sound like a weird thing to say, because there were certain moments in the game where they were nullifying what he was doing and making our lives really, they were played into our system really well. I think we worked out their system very quickly. Our game plan was implemented beautifully. And I think, just to go back on the Romero thing, he is going to be that player. I've said it here. I think we've all spoke about that passion. I don't want to nullify it. I will take this ban because we will have that. If we take his passion out of him, I think we lose the amazing defender that he is. When he chased down Haaland and went into their half and made the first tackle, what got the yellow card? Russ, I have to say, you're the only man who makes my voice seem like I'm high pitched. I love your work. And when Romero went through the back of Haaland, that tackle there, he got the yellow card, but it was more than that. He's going, you're not going to escape me. Run where you want. I am on you. And it sends messages to the back four, sends messages to the midfield. And that's what happened. Our whole back line went, we've got this. We're all over this. And that was beautiful to see. So I don't want to dampen that spirit. We'll lose him for the Leicester City game. But I want him to continue being that beast. And I think Spurs need that beast in our back line, because he's going to be the person to implement himself on games. And when he needs to, he is going to get a booking. He is going to get a yellow card, red card here and there. But we've just got to take it, gents. We've got to take it.
I do hear what you're saying, Dale. Look, I agree that, certain players, when Dele was at his peak at Spurs, you couldn't afford to take the devilman out of his game, because if you did, we saw what the end result was. And I agree with Romero. He needs to have that edge, like you say. My only concern is that, there's been times, and I think, Russ, again, I pick up what Russ said earlier, he was unfortunate today with the first booking. But my worry is that I do think with Romero, we've seen it on time and time again, where that fine line in between rashness and composure is sometimes blurred with him. And my worry is that we're approaching, now a period where we do need him. FA Cup, Champions League, big Premier League games. He's going to be a massive loss next week against Leicester. That game now, Leicester obviously winning at the weekend for them, a great win away at Villa. He's going to be a big, big loss for us. And I think we've seen it before with Spurs. Centre-back wise, although we've seen Sanchez come in, he's captain, of course, for the FA Cup and put a good performance in. We're losing arguably in Romero, our best centre-back. However you want to dress that up. We can't get away from that. So
I think also, just to highlight a point, he is still very young as a centre-half. Yeah, and I think that he's going to grow into that as well. And I think if we, as a team, are relying solely on him in our back line, that then points back to what we spoke about over a number of weeks about the investment. I feel that he needs to be able to be taken out at times to go FA Cup game. We don't need Romero to go and batter Wrexham or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I massively
take
agree.
a game off, and that's what we need to do just to help him with that. Because as I say, like you said, the Dele Alli thing's a great point to remember. We don't want to dampen him because he is that beast that we need.
Yeah, Russ, come back in there for us.
Well, I just wanted to say, I don't know what our viewers think and what you think. I think there is a wider issue within the game. The powers that be and the referees don't want it to really be the contact sport that we always used to love watching.
Yeah, I agree.
And we grew up with. And I think that's why we're seeing decisions where those of us who are slightly older than perhaps some of our younger viewers are just we're incredulous that, what? That's not a free kick. And I think we've got to be really careful, because we do need blood and thunder games as well as beautiful games, because it's what English football is all about. Yep. And I just felt today, and I've got nothing against Andy Madley, I just felt that he was a little bit whistle happy personally, but that's my opinion.
No, I do agree. And I think also, to pick up on that, Russ, I think City players sensed that and were appealing for literally anything in Spurs' 6-yard box. Anything that was a block or a tackle or a shot, they were appealing. I think there must have been about 4 VAR checks that were being enforced because City were continuously appealing and got nothing. But there you go. I mean, if we come back around to your cracks, we had Christian Stellini come out for his post-match presser. Again, must just say a massive shout out to Christian Stellini. He took the training this week, and again, this is a guy that has been Antonio's right-hand man. I think wherever he's gone to some degree, and it would have been difficult for him. Again, I'll make that point about Antonio. He's lost 3 close friends to him this year. Now he's had to go through an operation. Difficult for the manager. I think it's difficult for any of the coaching staff to come together with a group of players to some degree that, look, They've got a form of an ego. You'd expect that. They're a group of players. You had Pedro Porro to that, who, again, is a big, big call to not play him today because you knew what would happen. Everyone knew what was going to happen today the minute Emerson Royale's name was going to be read out at the start. And then you're going to have the crowd immediately on your back. But what I would say is the team was so well prepared, as Dow said there. The execution of the game plan, for me, was phenomenal. And he said after the game that I'm so glad, so happy to have the possibility to train all these players this week, these special players, this special team. And I want to say thanks to them and all the staff that helped around the players. Everyone pushed to another level. We spoke to Antonio in the dressing room. He was on the phone. He said he was very happy and gave compliments to everyone, especially Harry. He was very happy and he's giving them all the day off tomorrow. And this is the beauty, isn't it? When results like that play into the hands of the players and it just settles down a little bit, cracks that noise. And again, I just want to say this because, again, there's been a few comments here. I'm not saying the noise is wrong. I'm not saying that because we all know there needs to be investment. There needs to be a backing of this team, a backing of this squad to take this squad to where we all want it to go. But all I'm saying is that there's definitely been, you've seen over the last few weeks, cracks, the group have come together. They have not worried about what's going on the outside and they focused on getting results. And Christian Stellini, for me, deserves a huge amount of credit for that, cracks.
Absolutely. Rick, while we all jump up and down and absolutely lose our minds on social media, the barrier's there. And these players are well-versed and they're drilled in cutting out that noise. They don't see it. Let's be honest. Most of those players don't run their own social media channels anyway. Somebody runs them for them. They're probably told, don't go near social media. Let us do it. You just concentrate on what you're doing and we'll get on with what you're doing. But don't forget, these players will have a relationship with Stellini as well himself, as long as, along with Antonio Conte and Vetroni, that's very sadly passed away. So there's a group there. Anyway, there's Conte, but Stellini's a big part of that, So they've all pulled together this week in training, all got together. It literally was, let's go out there and do it for the gaffer. A little bit of me wonders whether we would have got that performance today if Conte was there. I mean, it's almost like it's almost like Antonio's gallbladder has won us that game today, isn't it? Like, it's it literally is like, thankfully he's had the op. Thankfully it's gone well. Thankfully he's on the mend. And I look forward to him coming back and being in the dugout for Spurs for a long, long time, because that's the man I want leading us. But that happening this week has almost pulled the team together and they've gone, okay, let's go and do this for the gaffer today. Let's get out there. Let's go and do it. And, the gaffer's going to surround himself with a team that the players are going to love alongside of Conte, So, yeah, it's just they've pulled themselves out this week and gone, okay, he's not here. Supply teachers in, but fair play. Let's go and do it. It's the gallbladder out, as somebody said. It's just, I make light of it, but I do now because he's well on the mend. Like, when it was said he was ill, wow, you just wanted to wish him well. Oh man, he has been through the mill.
This guy's he's lost 3 close friends. One of them being a coaching staff member, and now he's had an operation. You've got to say that.
Tough.
I think it's a great point to make. Before we go for a break, coming over to you, Russ. I think the problem is as fans, we're so fixated on obviously our team because it's our team and we support them, but I think we don't realise as well, Russ, what is going on behind the scenes of a player, behind the scenes of a manager. We're not privy to that. All we're seeing is, why is he not signing a new contract? Why is he not doing this change? Why is he making that? We don't realise, Russ, what's going on behind the scenes and how this might have mentally affected him before the operation.
That's right. I mean, we see the shop window. We don't see the stock room. You're absolutely right.
Spot on.
And I think Conte hasn't been right for 2 or 3 weeks. There hasn't been that enthusiasm that we all love Back in the day, the fans would all be singing Antonio, Antonio, and he'd be clapping them in the middle of a game, jumping up and down. We haven't seen that for a few weeks, and obviously he's had a difficult time personally, but there's a fair chance that he hasn't been feeling tip top, and none of us perform very well if we're not feeling too good. I mean, we've just had a comment there. Somebody said that they had the same operation as Conte, and it is not a pleasant thing to go through before the surgeons get hold of you, which they've done. And it's really important that he rests up. And I think he'll be back because he's that sort of, Forza Antonio. He'll be back before we probably even expect him. But, to go back to your question to me, there is things that goes on in the club, and obviously there's a lot of unhappy Spurs fans with the owners and Daniel Levy, the chairman. My view is, for what it's worth, if anyone's interested, I suspect that if you went out for dinner with Daniel Levy, you would find him the most engaging company, a lovely fella. But as soon as the bill came and money was involved, you would get the 1,000-yard stare. And my understanding is, he very, very much goes like that when money is mentioned. But my view is that Tottenham have spent an awful lot of money over the last few years. My issue with it is the due diligence on a fair amount of those players who we bought in and spent an awful lot of money on. And I'd even go right the way back to when Gareth Bale left. And we had the 100 million, 110 million.
On the Magnificent Seven, the Beatles.
Yeah, that's right. And Christian Eriksen was the only one really who worked out.
Yeah. Well, so even Russ as well. I want you to come back in on this as well. Even the window now we had under Jose, there's one player left with Højbjerg.
Well, yeah, exactly. I do think I understand the frustrations. I share a lot of the frustrations with Enoch. But I think if you're going to be fair, if you want to dish out the dirt at them, you have to look at the amount of money that they've spent, let alone what they've delivered in terms of a stadium. And I'm not president of their fan club at all, but it is the due diligence on the players that has been simply appalling over too many years. And that is where it's got to change.
Yeah, I've got to say, there's loads of, again, agreement in the comments here. Before we go for our first break of the show, there's over 1,000+ of you watching us live. So can I just say again, massive, massive thank you for all of your incredible support for Last Word on Spurs. We are here a bit later than usual, but look, we do anything for the Heartman. We love the Heartman. The Heartman, bless him, has been in and around the globe for him. He's been, listen, this man, I don't want to tell you where he's been. He's been all around the world doing Last Word on Spurs, and we always make it work. Just going to read out some of the listener statements that we've had in. Before I do, just going to share the stats of today, and which again were fairly interesting. You can see there, Spurs 1, Manchester City 0, 12 shots to the 15, 3 shots from Spurs, 5 for City, 19 fouls committed in Tottenham's favour, the 14 for City, the 4 yellow cards, the 1 for City, the 1 red card we know, of course, Christian Romero. Offsides, there's a couple there for Tottenham, just the 1 for Manchester City. Possession's an interesting one, because you do wonder there, Spurs 36%, City 64. You would arguably say any other home game that would be deemed completely unacceptable. But because it's Manchester City and Spurs win, we'll take it. And I thought the XG one was absolutely fascinating there. 1.62, Jason McGovern's favourite. 1.62 in Spurs' favour. City 0.95. And can I just add this as well, which I thought was absolutely unbelievable. City have created 9.79 XG without scoring at the new Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in both the Premier League and the Champions League. And this is the most beautiful one of today. Erling Haaland has accumulated 0.00 XG against Tottenham throughout that whole game. So for Jason, that was for you, Jace. That was the XG. I hope you don't mind me saying that out there. I have to say very quickly, look, loads of listener question statements come in. I'm going to read out a few. We've had come in G_division who says, why can't we play like this every week? They're already talking it down as City being poor, but we got them all game and deserved the win. 2 cup competitions left. If we play like this, we've got an absolutely decent shout. Jamie Mars says 16 games left to go. And for the first time it felt in ages that we played with cohesion and positivity. I hope we've turned that corner at last. Ben Taylor says, 1 excellent performance for 90+ minutes. Slightly disappointed to not see the new signings, but perhaps their presence alone contributed to the improved performances now. We have those competition for places. And we're going to discuss that bench in a second, because my word, the bench today, although we're disappointed to not see Porro, the bench, you can see now we're getting stronger and stronger. James Land said, after conceding goal after goal over the last 2-3 months, we've now kept 3 clean sheets. Is that just luck, or have we purely turned the corner? Well, James, hopefully we've answered that question for you. So much love for Emerson Royale. And my God, we've got about 60 questions in, and Emerson Royale's got the majority of them. David Lynch says, Emerson was magnificent. Brilliant performance. Best of the season. Kendall Nichols says, where has this Emerson been? Also, Jack Grealish, the way he bodied him was absolutely superb. Darren Blake says, what a performance from the team. Every player can hold their heads high. They did all their jobs. They played how we want them to play. Let's be on this now. Emerson the machine must have felt Porro breathing down his neck. It is about competition. What we are going to do, we are going to go for our first break of the show. For our listeners that are on audio, taking into that break, you're going to hear from a delighted Christian Stellini, who gives you his reaction to Spurs beating Manchester City by 1-0, and he being a massive, massive part of that reason. Right, guys, we're going to discuss the team. We're going to come back around to Cracks for this. So Cracks, pleased to say, look, I'll make you laugh. I went for all the effort to get our designer to get Porro ready for the lineup. He didn't even bloody make it. So I said to our designer this morning, I said, whatever you do, make sure you got Porro and Danjuma's name and faces in the team, and neither of them bloody played. Right, here was the team. This podcast will kill me, quite frankly, it will kill me. The team ahead of this game, the Spurs reverted back to the same team that beat Fulham 1-0 last Monday. Conte, as we know, was remaining in Italy after recovering from his operation. So Christian Stellini named that team to face Man City. In terms of the team, Pedro Porro, Arnaut Danjuma, both on the bench. And for the first time in a long, long while, Conte has had a full, or should I say Stellini and Conte have had a full team to pick from. Emerson Royale keeping his place. And as we said, the reaction pre-kickoff to after tells you everything you need to know. Ben Davies getting a nod over Clement Longley at left wing back, with Ivan Perisic chosen ahead of Ryan Sessegnon. And we understand it was unlikely that Porro would have started anyway. We understand he's been suffering from a bit of a cold this week. He's been under the weather. Few bugs and illnesses actually around the camp, as reported by the wonderful Ali Gold, who kept us up to date with that. Richarlison was back in the actual squad after successfully recovering from that adductor problem. Lucas Moura finally returning back to training, and also Pat Matassar as well. So that team read Lloris, Romero, Dyer, Davis, Emerson, Benson, Højbjerg, Perisic, Kulusevski, Kane and Son. With that bench of Forster, Sanchez, Longley, Sessegnon, Porro, Basuma, Skip, Richarlison, Danjuma. Cracks, honestly, when you saw the team, what was your immediate thought?
Well, Rick, if you're onto your graphics, man, can you please put Royale up as Emerson Aparecido Lite de Souza Jr.? Please give him his full name. I know he'll come halfway down the screen with it.
Do you know how much it's cost me per letter? I can't do the back of the shirts like Pedro Porro's got his name on the back.
I bet Daniel Levy wishes that people would actually buy a Royal shirt with his whole name on there, wouldn't he?
Has anyone spotted that? I think it's a £5 per letter. He's charging you by the letter.
It is, yeah. This is why Spurs never bought Edu, and why we offered to pay £100 million for Jan Vennegoor of Hesselink. Because you're gonna get another £75 on the back of every shirt. Jan Vennegoor of Hesselink. His name is on my shirt. It cost a bob or two. 50 quid more than they do. Here goes Jan Vennegoor of Hesselink. La 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 la. There's a little song I made up.
There you go.
Oh man. Well, look, the big talking point was Royale over Pedro Porro, wasn't it? It really was. That's what we was all looking at. The rest of the team kind of picks itself. So, you know, Højbjerg, Bentancur, of course, Kulusevski, Kane, Son, Davis, Dyer, Romero. But it was that Royal Porro, and we all bought into it. We all went, head in hands. No. Why not? Why not give the crowd a bounce? It's a new player. In he comes. But as we found out, the boy wasn't feeling like 100%, was he? So out comes Royal, despite all the stick. And wow, Like, it was just, he was fantastic today. Absolutely fantastic. The rest of the team, it speaks for itself. Lloris again today. Fantastic, absolutely fantastic. Didn't put a foot wrong, and another one, he's come under some immense pressure, some unbelievable stick, and today he was spot on, absolutely spot on. So look, what do we know? Like on social media, gathering around here to talk about it, it just shows that really we don't know what goes on the training ground week in, week out. We don't know what goes on within that inner circle. So maybe sometimes before a shot's fired in anger, we should just maybe pull off a little bit. I can't believe, Rick, this is football again for you. I've got to 53 years old, a father of 4 kids, and I'm still losing my rag before a ball's even kicked because of a lineup. I've not been, I live 2,000 miles away from the training ground, let alone there every day watching what's going on. Let those people that are the experts pick the team, do what they need to do. And if it doesn't work out, then have something to say about it. I really do need to start. Today's game has really given me a lot of navel gazing, to be honest. And I keep thinking to myself, do you know what? Before the game, I'm on the WhatsApp group and I'm going, oh, really? Oh, come on, new player, get him on the pitch. We don't know what's going on. We've done it with Conte, haven't we, as well? We've gone, he's lost it. He ain't jumping up and down. He's not beating his chest. He's not.
Players aren't playing for him.
They're not playing for him. He's not diving into the crowd when we score. The poor man's in absolute agony with his gallbladder, all these things. We don't know what's going on. So maybe we all need to do it. We all need to take a bit of a breath. And today's team, guess what, Rick? Those 11 players, that wasn't 11 players. That was a team. They played as a team.
That was men. That was men today. That was
men. Of course.
Bravery.
Yes. If you get that team thing going, if you can get the 11 coming together, sometimes, just sometimes, they're more than the sum total of their parts, aren't they? Everton showed it yesterday. We showed it today. So, look, a life lesson. Every day's a school day. Even when you get to an old man like me, look, with white hair. Look, white hair. Look at that hair. Look, white hair. And I'm still learning every day to try and be a better person and just go, okay, let's see what the day brings us before we start giving them a kick in.
You do know you'll be back here after Leicester going ballistic when he's picked the 11.
I'll be content out when we lose. Don't worry about that.
Don't worry about that. We'll be screaming and shouting. Russ, if I can come round to you, I think it is time. Look, we're 49 minutes in. It is Harry Kane time. We have to make it Harry Kane time. Look, our first half, where quite honestly, I think, it was again, many would say it was a tactical battle. I think we said it at half time. Spurs were really implementing the game plan ever so well. That they genuinely were. City just could not get into that game. And it felt, I would say that for a team that have lost, I think, 4 of their last 5 at home in Spurs, you wouldn't have thought that today. There was, as I said, that word bravery on the ball. And I said the same thing with Everton on the Saturday. Sort of keep going back to this, that every player today, for me, knew their jobs. There was a structure. There was a discipline. There was an actual belief that going out onto that field, I feel like I'm talking like Darren here. There was a genuine belief that we would go out there and put a performance in. But Harry Kane, Russ, the leader of him, was he just made for this occasion? Russ, was it always going to be this game? The record was going to be broken.
Absolutely. I think he was always going to do it at home. And I had a little flutter on Kane to score in under 2.5 goals. Ka-ching! Thank you very much. But it's not about me. It's about Harry Kane and his record. And he'll keep scoring goals for us as long as he stays. And, he really is one of our own. And, he got his first goal against Sunderland, didn't he, all those years ago. And here he is still banging him in against, who you guys think are the best football team in the world, Manchester City. absolutely delighted for him. He's a credit to the game of football. He's a credit to our club. He's a credit to his country. He's a credit to his family. I mean, he is absolutely unbelievable family man as well. He's got lovely kids, beautiful wife. He's never out, drinking champagne and falling over in gutters. No. He is Mr. Spurs, as King Hoddle said there. And to beat Greavesy, it was just amazing for us. It is a massive, massive achievement for him. And, we're all so happy for him. And he was really happy as well. And, you got to give it to Højbjerg for holding off that challenge.
Oh,
well, 2 challenges, and getting the ball to Harry. And he put it in. And I did notice today, incidentally, I don't know if you guys did, Højbjerg was far more forward than Bentancur was. And it's normally the other way around, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I did think if we had 2 Bentancurs and a Højbjerg, we really would be something in midfield. But maybe Biss is going to
Russ, I mean, I've got to present this show, so I just couldn't be there. It's one of those things I did want to, but after I couldn't let you down on the 18th hole. I couldn't have done that to you and gone off and done the game and then come back.
No.
This is not enough time, Russ. This is not enough time.
No, this is not a real dog, by the way. Okay, Paddy? The clue's in the name, Pad. It's not a real dog.
What I love about this show
is outside the door.
For audio listeners, they have no clue what goes on when it is on YouTube. So just to give some
the corner of my little place where I am.
Yeah, we're going to give some context. Russ has got a dog in the corner. It's actually not a dog, and Paddy's just kind of alerted Russ that it's not moved for the past 50 minutes. But
it hasn't.
Russ has just again remind us: don't panic. Dog is fine. It's the ornament, and it's a bloody good looking ornament as well. I've got to say. Dal, where do we go on the show? Someone will contact me at some point. Contact me if you wish. We're going to get a bloopers cut up, the 2021-2022 bloopers. We're not doing the Conference League of last season. Contact me, we'll get that together. There'll be lots of it in there, probably from Darren Hartman, most of it. Dal, Harry Kane, he now stands alone as Tottenham's record goal scorer. And as Russ alluded to there, Højbjerg, the actual high pressing up the pitch to win the ball back, then running forward to force the mistake from City. Kane then burying it 2-6-7. Dale, how proud are you of that achievement and the way he's gone about that?
Like every Spurs fan, I'm over the moon for the man. He deserves it. We willed every shot he took. We were willing every ball into the back of net today, and he deserved it. And for what he's given as a servant to the club, and the fact that we've not always been great while Harry's been there. And he's had many an opportunity to go elsewhere, and people would have been in his ear going, you can do this, you can do that. But no, he stays and he's here, and he was meant to be a one-season wonder, but the man continues to score season after season. He is definitely 100% one of our own. And just to go left, to go right with this, when we spoke about the performance today, right from minute 1, I know people spoke about City and how they played, but our system was beautiful today and executed beautifully, like absolutely beautifully. What you saw today, the press was done well. When you spoke about Højbjerg being so far forward, he was taking up the role that he does when he plays for Denmark. Bentancur was being the man breaking the lines with his passes. The guy's phenomenal at that. But what we did is that we were so organised in our press. We moved as a unit around the pitch. It was a beautiful textbook version of what Conte's been trying to do. One thing that played into our hands, which Spurs fans may not have been thinking about, what I did today, it's the first time in a long while we've had a whole week to prepare for a game. And when we have a whole week, this is the Spurs we get. And it's bringing that into our new system now of playing 2 games a week, because we looked so ready. And I think that was the beautiful thing about it. Every man for man was ready. The tactics were ready. They were clear. They were energized. We've got a full squad back. We haven't had that in a while. That's why when your opening question today, Rick, about is this the turning curve? Is this the moment that we kick on and project and go forward? With everything now, the cards are lining the way they have. Let's believe it, Spurs fans. Let's put our energy into that, because today is Harry's day, Harry's day, but today could also be the dawn of the Spurs that we've been calling back for a while, and hopefully the squad stays together and keeps going the way it's going.
Yeah, amen, Dal. So much that, amen. Cracks, just to bring you in on Harry. Look, I mean, you've been wizardry about him on this show. You've also been honest in time, said, Harry, there's been occasions where maybe he could have stepped up today. He has done that. That record is broken. Højbjerg a massive part in helping that record to be broken. He punches the air 267. A lovely actually screen we saw in the stadium saying congratulations Harry, with almost a kind of montage of the celebrations of Harry throughout the years. I've got to say that was beautifully done from Tottenham. You know, we criticise the club a lot for what they do wrong, but I thought that was class, and that was brilliant the way the club did that. It was a lovely moment for Harry. And to echo what Russ said there, you know, that guy comes from, you can see, a decent family, proper Spurs. The kids are brought up lovely. He's got a lovely wife. I think he's like us, right? And this is the hard thing where it was difficult in that period wanting to join Man City, because I think as fans, I think we had enough of supporting the club to some degree after Nuno came in. But we're Spurs fans. We can't go anywhere. For Harry, it's hard. I think for what he's given to Tottenham, he's so deserving of something more than just being the club's record goal scorer. He wants the trophies. And I genuinely do mean this for Harry, that there's no doubt about it, Cracks, that winning it with Tottenham will mean so much more than winning it anywhere else. Then United, then City, then Liverpool. You know, you can't put into words what it would be to win it at Tottenham. Would it, Cracks? A trophy for what he's done.
It's, I mean, beating the record today, Rick and everybody, you know, he takes over from Jimmy Greaves, and I never saw Greavesy play, but my dad did. And my dad, I love him to death, but he can be a curmudgeon old sod over things. And you mentioned the name Jimmy Greaves to him, and he goes all misty-eyed. I mean, that's where he gets my dad, right here, right in the heart, Jimmy. I've got to know Jimmy's son, Danny. You know, we've been out for a couple of beers and done some events for the Jimmy Greaves Foundation. And, you know, the whole family is so utterly proud of Jimmy and everything that he achieved at Tottenham Hotspur. And do you know what? I think the only plaudit I can really pay to Harry Kane is I couldn't think of a nicer human being to take over that record. Not just a footballer, a person as well. So, like,
Spot on.
It really is. You know, it's not all about football. Sometimes it's about the person as well. And, you know, I've grew up, like, I was in Essex before I moved to Lanzarote, and Harry lived around Essex and Chinkford, and you get to know people that knew him. And I had a friend that lived next door, but one to him. And you hear stories about what he's done for people, what he does for charities, you know, Orient sponsorship of their shirts, all of this, everything like that, not just his ability on the football pitch, but everything he does as a person, as a human being, as a family man, feeds into everything. And you know what? I couldn't think of a better person to take over from Jimmy than Harry Kane. Really is. Not the footballer, just the person, just the man. He does everything. He's proper. He's a nice guy. He's a family man. You know, everything that goes. I know all that went on, you know, around him wanting to maybe leave, and you know, it's one of those things. That's football. You've got to separate Harry Kane growing up a Tottenham fan away from Harry Kane and his football career. They have to be. You have to separate them. You have to. You know. And do you know what? If he does go somewhere else eventually and he wins a couple of bits, fair play to him, because you know that won't stop him being a Spurs fan or the Kane family being a Spurs family.
Agreed.
But he has to go and do his career justice. He has to win.
He has to win something, doesn't he?
You know,
it would be.
Yeah,
it would
exactly.
be. You know, we say about players.
It's
often,
work, Rick. It's work. I do Legends nights. If you offer me a night going to work with Arsenal players, I go and do it. You know, but that doesn't make me any less of a Spurs fan. But I'll go and do a Legends night, and I'll go and do that with just as much intent and vigor and enjoyment as I would do in a Spurs night, because people have paid good money to come along and to hear from their heroes. You have to separate who you are as a person from your career. So, like, listen, I really am pleased for Harry, and he's a fine man to take over from Jimmy as our all-time top goal scorer. He's a proper good, nice guy. So, and then add in that he's actually some footballer, because I wouldn't swap him out for Haaland. So that's probably another plaudit.
You know, again, this is one of those things where, you know, I say this, you know, many people that are football fans do not actually see what Harry brings as a player. You know, again, he's one, and I want to say, for me, he's one of the best passers of the game that I see. I'm not going to sit here and say I watch every club. I watch Match of the Day every week. It doesn't make me an expert, but I can only see from what I see that this guy's vision is incredible. You know, his experience. He reminds me a lot of Teddy Sheringham when I was growing up watching Teddy. Football brain, absolute football brain. I mean, Russ, to bring you in there, just want to get your thought on that, Russ. How hard is that, Russ, to be able to separate the two, like Crack says there, the player, as a footballer, his own career ambitions, and the actual fact of being a Spurs fan supporting him? How hard is that, Russ, to differentiate from the two, in your opinion?
It must, I think it must be pretty hard. I mean, I would love him to, like we all would, for him to win something with our football club. And, you know, the portents for this season are pretty good. If we play like we played today in the FA Cup, I mean, I think we have to be realistic at the moment. Champions League is probably a no-no for us, and the Premier League. But that isn't to say that over the next 18 months, we couldn't, with two central defenders who are top quality coming in next summer, it's an absolute must, and one or two others, actually mount a challenge, you know, because we proved today that City, as good as they are, we can match them. And we know that, excuse me, every other team in the league is beatable if we've got the right personnel. And I you know, but to go back to your initial question, you know, it must be so hard. I mean, if he ever did sit down and agonize whether he was going to leave Spurs because of his being a big fan, I think it would be an almost impossible decision for him. And he must have thought that when City came in for him. And I think that was probably the time that if he was going to go, he'll go. I hope. I mean, the club have got to literally, as one of our viewers said, move heaven and earth to keep him and convince him that Spurs is the football club for life for him. But if Antonio Conte goes, I think that becomes a really difficult conversation that may be a step too far.
Yeah, you know, it's an interesting debate. And it's
Rick,
one in which...
I want the football club to step up to the standards that Harry Kane and Antonio Conte set for themselves.
That's it.
Their personal standards of what should be in football. Yeah. And if the football club matches Harry Kane's and Antonio Conte's ambitions, coupled in with the great things the club have done, we've said this already, around the stadium, around the training ground and everything else, step your football standards up to Antonio's and Harry's, then we've got some football club. We have got some football club.
Yeah. Can I just say? Yeah. I know, again, absolutely echo those thoughts. Many as well actually echoing them. Dal, just to bring you in here just on Kane. You know, it was actually a true beautiful moment at the end there. You know, we saw the Stadium United in celebration with Kane. Actually, and as Cracks mentioned there, the son of Jimmy Greaves, Danny, was on the field with him. Kane actually gave a lovely, you know, speech to the fans. We actually saw a lovely video message from Danny, and it was being mobbed by watching his Spurs teammates. It was actually a lovely moment. I think, again, hopefully there'll be an opportunity. I'm sure Spurs will upload that to Spurs Play. But when I look at his stats, Dal, you know, the argument of that fact that he once was a one-season wonder, you go back 14-15 season, 31 goals, 5 assists. 15-16 season, 28 goals, 2 assists. 16-17 season, 35 goals, 7 assists. 17-18 season, 41 goals, 4 assists. 18-19 season, 24 goals, 6 assists. 19-20, 24 goals, 2 assists. 20-21, 33 goals, 17 assists. 21-22, 27 goals, 10 assists. I mean, Dale, we're talking about a player here. We laughed and joked and said one season wonder. This has been consistent over 7 to 8 seasons. And the run rate is going. He is going to be the Premier League's all-time goal scorer. So do we need just to appreciate the player that we've got here before our eyes in what he's achieving in the modern era, that I don't think it will be done again. I said this again, Russ and Cracks will come in on this as well. I do not know how a player in this modern era will ever get to Kane's records when you think he's got to dedicate 7 to 8 years at the club minimum.
You know what? It's such an interesting debate, right? Because when you think about Harry Kane, when I think about Harry Kane, I think there is no disputing that this man should be in the conversation. When you talk about the quality of player that is around now, he is in the elite bracket. Of all the strikers out there, he is in that very fine elite bracket. See how small my hands are? That elite bracket. That's where he is. And I think people, football fans, away from Spurs, like to try and cloud, diminish, pull down his achievements because he hasn't won anything with Spurs. And I keep hearing his trophy cabinet at home is empty. Let's just be real. This man has won Golden Boot, Hair, World Cup, Man of the Match here. Now he's Tottenham's all-time goal scorer. Ultimately, he'll get the all-time goal scorer in the Premier League. This man is not short of accolades. He's not short of trophies. We're talking about something for his personal self, to go, I want to do this for this club. That's the personal achievement that he wants to give us as fans. When you're not a Spurs fan, you're missing a picture. If you look at Haaland and you look at the strikers that are there, you look at Salah in the league, and you will give them the world-class tag, and you won't put it on Harry Kane, you are deluded. You are absolutely deluded. This man will be watching his highlight reels for many, many years to come. We'll be passing this down generations to come. He will be what young players will mold their game on. There is that thing of Project Mbappe. There will be Project Kane. Because as Crackers quite rightly highlighted, he is a role model for how to live your life on and off the pitch. He adapted his game to make himself more involved in a game. Let's think about Haaland today. People have spoke about Haaland not getting the service. The balls weren't going to him. He's making runs and he's not getting the ball. Bring on De Bruyne. He will find Haaland. He still doesn't get the goal. Don't get me wrong. People go, but Hartman, he's scored a bag of goals. I'm not disputing that. But I'm saying with Kane's position, Kane has scored 17 goals this season in a Spurs team that we keep talking about has no creative midfielder. So this man is creating for others and himself. This man is scoring consistently high numbers. And people here want to go, he's not world class. Listen, if he ain't world class, I don't know football. I should start watching cricket with NFL clothes on and start cheering Yankees like I'm watching Yorkshire. I should be that confused because the man is world class. He should be given the plaudits he deserves. And I will argue on any platform with anybody if they're telling me that he's not. I'm there for it.
Rick,
I love Darren.
Haaland is a striker. Harry Kane is a footballer.
Bar
It's
for
as
the
simple
day.
as that.
That's the
Look
one
at
that
that.
you should be clipping people.
That's
That's
honestly
the bar of
in
the
the
day.
England team.
Clip that one. Clip that one. Honestly, Harry Kane. You know, we could sit here and talk about Harry and rightly so. I mean, we must just say before we go for our next break, absolute credit to Pierre Højbjerg. You know, he seems to have copped a lot of stick again recently. But boy, did he cover some ground today. I've got to say, not only with the Harry Kane moment, but we'll all come on to obviously Pierre in a bit more detail. But, you know, to make that goal what it was, and it was actually very similar to the Kulusevski goal at the Etihad a couple of weeks ago when Bentancur pressed Rodri into an error. And again, this is about, you know, executing a game plan. Without Antonio Conte being there, you have to give credit to the coaching staff that have implemented that moment. That has been forced. It's not been created. It's been forced to some degree by the pressing of our players. And I've said this time and time again with Tottenham, that we are, for me, at our best when we impose that high level of pressing. And I think that's what gets the fans absolutely motivated. You saw that today, that the fans from minute one, forget the outside noise for a second, everybody in that stadium were focusing on Spurs. Not Arsenal, not anything else, but Spurs. Spurs to win no matter what. I can tell you that, you know, 100% there was a sustained, dedicated focus on everybody in that stadium being there for the players, being behind Emerson Royale, being behind Pierre Højbjerg, being there for Harry Kane. And I'll say this again, that when the fans come together in that stadium, it creates a special atmosphere that for me cannot be replicated in any other ground. And it just shows if we can create that atmosphere, you know, week in, week out when we're there, anything is possible. And we've seen this time and time again. Now, I'd say this so many times, you know, as a fan base, we are so much better when we're together. We understand, we recognise there needs to be change. No one gets away from that. But again, you have to see what can happen when we come together. So I think I want to make that point. But what we are going to do, we are going to go for our next break. And thank you so much, Russ. We are going to go for our next break of the show for our listeners on audio. Taking into that break, you're going to hear from a delighted Harry Kane, who reflects on breaking that elite record. I must say again, guys, thank you so much. You've got about 1,300 of you here watching us live. We know we're very soon coming up to Love Island. We're battling Love Island now. It is that time. And I'll
when
say
are you going on, Rick?
Well, if it's Crackers, we'll have me on there next week. And I will say what I say to all my mates. Get it backed up on the ITV catch-up, Cracks. What do you reckon?
Never mind you watching Love Island. We've also found out this evening, not only are you a Love Island fan, which I let slip to the audience last week.
Oh, you did?
You've got 2 Wi-Fis, Rick. Two
Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fis.
I tell you what, Rick. I tell you what, Crackers is in Lanzarote tonight, and the Spaniards want all the Brits out of Lanzarote. He's in his den. There could be a SWAT team coming in any moment.
Any moment.
I
could get deported. I could be on a Ryanair in the next hour because apparently Lanzarote doesn't want any Brits coming to visit anymore.
Oh, I tell you. You know what I love is this show can take you anywhere. Quite literally, this show with the guests we have on here, they take you anywhere, any country, any place, you name it, you're going to be there. I tell you. Look, we're going to discuss some of the performances there, but before we do, just to kind of encapsulate the rest of that game, Bentancur, Romero both went into the book for clattering Lewis and Haaland. I mean, maybe some would say fair enough on both accounts. I know, Russ, there, you firmly defended the point with Romero. You didn't think that was a first booking.
Yeah, and I don't think Bentancur's yellow card was a yellow card either. And actually, Gary Neville, who knows a lot more about football than I do, also said he didn't think it was a yellow card. It's that no contact thing again. I don't like it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I think you said this, Russ, at the very start. There does seem to that issue now where you get certain referees that let the game play. Others, there's continual disruption and flow. But do you know what? In a weird, perverse way, Russ, I don't know if you agree, that maybe the interruption seemed to help Tottenham because it didn't allow City to get into their flow. Is that how you felt as well, Russ, throughout that game?
Certainly in the last 20 minutes or so. I mean, we were, as you called it earlier, it was S-Housery even in the first half, and we're very good at it, and it upset Guardiola. He was screaming and shouting and swearing at the referee from the touchline. How didn't he get a yellow card, by the way? It's okay because he's Pep, you see. Anybody else like Antonio be booked, wouldn't he?
I totally agree.
I'm afraid, gentlemen.
And I must just say, I totally agree. And for those that listen on audio, just to be clear, Crackers did say 2 Wi-Fis, not 2 wives, because I can currently see my wife right now chucking down the remnants of what was left of my clothes beforehand in a wardrobe that I actually enjoy. And I have got a second child coming in the space for a couple of weeks. So, I would like to be at the birth if possible. If it was, Crackers will be here. Don't worry to guide you through what will be left of this show come the end of it and my life in tatters. But there you go. As long as everyone's had a good time at my expense, enjoy it. Now let's come over to you. So Romero being booked, some would say that's almost like a trademark tackle. But look, listen, Romero being Romero, we are going to talk about him because essentially we've seen with him that he's got to control that. He has got to control that. But I relayed that point that going into halftime, the atmosphere in that stadium was superb. And also, I've got to say, Dal, I don't know if you saw it, that Christian Stellini almost replicated Conte on the bench. He was kicking every ball. He was punching. He was honestly, it was great to see Stellini being that animated. And I think for those that have been worried that maybe Conte and Stellini and the coaching staff to some degree maybe have lost their love of Tottenham. I mean, they were fighting today, Dow, and I'm sure you're going to agree. They were fighting for the manager and they were fighting for each other. It
was a beautiful team performance, as I highlighted earlier. And I think what really excited me, you said about the fans today. I think the fans have been great. When we switched on to being a part of the Spurs and not worrying about the business, we're phenomenal. Away, we've been great. And today was great. And I think I spoke at the beginning about there were moments, key moments. In that first half, I think within the first 8 or 9 minutes, some picked up the ball at the edge of our box and just charged through City. And that was what Son always does to them. And for everyone in the stadium and at home, we was like, here it is. We're up for this. We're on this. I don't think I've ever seen City play anybody and do what they had to do today. The amount of times our press, because it wasn't a full press, We weren't pressing all the time. It was organised. And it kept making City go backwards. And the amount of times it ended up going back to their keeper. And I was like, this is beautifully executed. We shut down every hole. It was superb. And the fans were seeing it. Also, our back line. Because of the way City played, we were smart enough to go, you know what? We don't need to hold a back three. We can put Dyer in front. So Dyer and Bentancur were playing pretty much as the midfield too. So they were picking up Silva. They were shutting down the spaces. So then that gave Højbjerg the license to be further forward. It was just a superbly executed game plan. But that comes from great coaching. But also, as Cracks always said, football's played up here. The intelligence of those players today to stay switched on to the game plan for 90 plus minutes showed what the quality of those players are. This is the same point we were last season when the kick-on happened. So let's keep that in our minds. This is where Spurs started to click.
Great point.
Let's go again.
You're spot on, Dow, and you're right there. It was just literally after that window shut, and there was almost an immediate sustained belief we're going to go and do that. And let's hope you're absolutely right, because look, based on today, if that's what we're judging it on, we really, really hope that is the case. As Dow, for those that are listening on audio, gives us almost a praying feature that is the case. Cracks, coming around to you. Again, you mentioned this earlier about mentality and football, that, Spurs in their last 17 first halves against teams who aren't Man City, 3 goals scored, 12 conceded. Spurs in their last 2 first halves against Man City, 3 goals scored, none conceded. What is it about City? It's just a bonkers team, isn't it? This like the home form for Spurs against City, just remarkable. How do you make that up, Cracks?
It's all Ricky Villa's fault, isn't it? He set the tone, didn't he? Ricky Villa done it to him. Yeah, it's as simple as that. It's, you look at today, and as much as you applaud it, you think to yourself, do you know what? If we'd done that to Arsenal today, we would have probably done something against them. We really would have. I just don't know, Rick. I don't know. I don't think you could ever explain it. And it's also why we all love football, as I said at the top of the show, because it's chaos, because it's played between the ears as much as it is with your feet. And today we just got in their faces. We just got at them. The press was good. The team spirit was good. And doesn't it just show you that a football club needs all these cogs turning together for the machine as a whole to work well? The players done what they done. They pressed. They got in Man City's faces. The crowd got up. The crowd got behind Spurs, yeah? And then, in turn, the players went that bit more. They found something because the crowd was with them. And the more the team went, the more the crowd went. The more the crowd went, the more the team went. It's like a snowball. It's a snowball effect, isn't it? It just picks up and picks up and picks up. So if you've got all those cogs in a club, the whole club, the board, the management, the players, the team, if you can pick up that momentum and get going, they all feed each other. And this is what we've done today. So I just want everybody at the club to take the energy today and everything that happened today, and off you go, and take that into the next game and go again. Because, even when you're away and you're in a stadium of 30,000 and you get 3,000 fans there, our 3,000 that travel away, like at Preston, like at Fulham as well. Wow, what a noise they can make when they get behind that team. Like you like the home team. You're like the home team. You can turn away games into home games. So everybody just needs to take that energy and feed it into each other, and it just snowballs. So it's great to see.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I say, I've got to say, 1-0 was that flat. That was flattering City. I've got to be honest with you, Russ. We had some big chances in that game as well. I mean, David's not far away from a near post header. Again, I joked off air with you, Russ. City were really pleading for any decision for a penalty at every occasion. It was blocked off the blocks in the box. Dyer with a tremendous block at one point, I must just say. And Spurs also so close to a second. Romero making a perfect Perfect tackle inside the box. Son sprinting up the field, lay off to Perisic. Kane side and boot just missing. But, it was worrying. You think, Russ, these chances keep on coming. We don't take them. And you just worry where the game is going. And I must just say as well, and this is maybe the point to bring it in, Russ, Emerson Royale. An amazing, brilliant change on Jack Grealish, which really, I think, again, set the tone for how we ended that game. Do you agree, Russ?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Grealish didn't like it up him, and he was getting it big time from Emerson Royale. And I just think that there is an element with some of these so-called big clubs in the Premier League that the players, they feel a little bit entitled. I am a Man City player. I'm a Liverpool player. They can't do that to us. They want a bit of extra.
It's a great point. It's a great point.
Protection, maybe.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel about it particularly when I watch clubs like City play. And I don't have any hate for City at all.
Yep.
I admire what they've done there, and I wish in a way that we'd had all their money and bought players as good as them, but we haven't. And so, I just think we've got the Indian sign over them, and it's great. I mean, Antonio was on the phone before the game, and he just said, "Lads, it's only City." Look.
Honestly, though, as you say that, Russ, that there was there's a genuine belief in that stadium. I mean, you picked up on that fact earlier, coming over to you, Dal, that the red card for Romero was. I know Russ said the second yellow was. Sorry, the first yellow was maybe harsh. He's now going to miss that game against Leicester City. How much of that is a blow, Dal, given how important he's in that back line there? Do you back us to cope with the upcoming games without him? Because we have to find a way, aren't we, Dal?
Yeah, I think I do back us because we're a unit and one man shouldn't dictate what happens in that team. And if it means that Langmay comes in and we shift it across and everyone just has to reshuffle, but it's the mentality and the game plan being executed rightly. Because we showed that today. We showed that every man does their job. We look very, very good. And we also have a bench now, which we kind of just alluded to at the beginning, was looking at that bench and going, people are looking at their position going, I've got to give a performance now. We now also have impact players on the bench. People who we go, if they get on, they're going to do something. We've got belief. If we're down, they can pull us up. And we've not had that. I remember about 3-4 weeks ago, looking at our bench going, oh, I don't even want to make a substitution if I'm honest. But now there's a lot on that bench. So, yeah, Romero is going to be missed. But I believe in what we're doing. I believe in the team that we have. And I believe Leicester's there and we can do this. We've done it before. It's not, everyone is beatable. The season is so topsy-turvy. Everyone, if we go there and perform like we did today, I would expect us to get the points.
Yeah, I'll just read that message out on the screen there. I have to say this. Stylo says, great lineup today, Rick. The best voice out there with Russ. Darren, who's so motivational, and Crackers being the most unique geezer. Best show out there on Last Word on Spurs. Best show out there, Last Word on Spurs.
Yeah.
You've got me through so much therapy.
I think it's a diplomatic way of saying weirdo.
Can I just say, honestly, there's about 1,300 of you still watching us live here, and we have, for those that care, we have entered Love Island territory, right? We are taking people away from pressing that ITVB button. Go and put it on catch up. Don't miss us here on Last Word on Spurs. Please don't. So following that red card from Christian Romero, Sanchez replaced Kulusevski. Another penalty claim from City, this time from the Reese, not interested, and that wasn't given as anything. And then for all the excitement we said about Pedro Porro, Emerson Royale was absolutely magnificent. What we are going to do, we are going to go for our final break of this show for our listeners and audio. And because we haven't got a preview for you, we are going to just do a quick 5-10 minutes on some of those players today that put in the shift, because they do need a mention. They really, really do. They were absolutely superb. But a quick reminder, if you do need one, that Last One on Spurs are also delighted to be sponsored by NordVPN. Now, look, we make that joke all the time here that some of these boys are here from our Champions League nights. The Heartman's here. Crackers is always here for them. You're going to need NordVPN when you're flying around the world. You're going to want to catch Last One on Spurs when you're in Italy for AC Milan. Dal's going to be on these ones, as is Crackers as well. They're going to be late night Last Word on Spurs shows. So you're going to need NordVPN. It will also stop you from your bandwidth throttling. Throttling, I said, not throbbing, just to be very, very clear. So you can make sure you go and check out that discount code right now, nordvpn.com/LWOS. There's no excuses. There's over 1,000 of you watching us live right now, 1,300 of you. Go and get NordVPN. Don't let yourself down. Right. Let's talk about guys.
Tell you what, Rick.
Russ is called a dog with us.
After
Getting
today's
vibes, baby. The vibes are in his ears. You know what I'm saying?
down road.
Look, I listen. I say this. That you get the most professional people. Can I just say, you get the most professional people with Russ Williams on here, and this show says people bar me. This show says
You think I was being cruel to this dog? It's made of plastic.
Thank you, Russ. Thank you, Russ.
Broken plastic.
Can I just say there was a comment earlier that said no dogs were harmed during this production. Can I just definitely put a claimer up there? That is definitely the case. As Russ has just dropped an ornament. I don't know how much that dog is worth or whose is it, Russ, but someone's paying for that afterwards.
That is the paw. I've got some super glue. We're okay. Sorry, mate.
So Russ has lost a dog in the production of Last Word on Spurs. Believe me, I've lost a lot of lives on Last Word on Spurs. Trust me. I can't believe I've just
still got his headphones on.
I can't take this show, dog. Do you know what? How many times do I say this on Last Word on Spurs? Where do you go from here? I don't know where to generally go.
Right.
Oh god.
Christian Romero. What was the dog's name?
Harry.
It's tripod. It's tripod now. It's only got 3 legs.
He's injured.
Can I just say, there is actually some lovely words that have come out from Antonio Conte after this game there. Josh Jordan says, Conte's Instagram post after the game proves he cares about our club. The phone call back to Kane, he can't leave. The stadium was unison for him, which he thrives off. Back him. Big words there. And there was a lovely post from Kane. I will bring it up in a second. But just to talk about some of those player performances. Eric Dyer, down to start with you. Look, Dyer's been heavily criticised, I would say, over the last few weeks, few months. I mean, there's been an argument that we've not seen the same player as last season. I don't know, I get the show back on track after that dog incident. I'm so sorry, Russ. Dale, Eric Dyer, big defensive display. Is that exactly what he needed, Dale, at this time, given the pressure he's been under?
Absolutely what he needed. He needed a big performance, more for himself than the fan base. And I think that everyone played with confidence today, and he implemented his job, and that team effort, he epitomized it today. Because as I said earlier, he stepped out of the back 3. He played just in front of them at times. He did some great clearances. He was very vocal as well. And I think that's good to see. You saw him leading from the back, being a captain without the armband, which is what we need right across the pitch. And yeah, absolutely, Eric Dyer was solid. Everybody got big points today. Everybody, man for man, everyone got big points. Just solid, absolutely solid.
Yeah, can I just refrain again here, just for our watching audience here? I must just say that dog wasn't a real dog. We have to make that point very, very clear.
No, well,
and Russ will confirm that. He is still wearing the headphones, though, Russ. You will confirm.
He is, and he's got one leg missing. There we go. But don't worry, he's going to be fine.
It's literally king about the one knee. What can I say? And I've got to say, Dean is absolutely right.
On the show.
Anyone choosing Love Island over your banter needs to sort their priorities out. And I absolutely spot on to agree there. We've had people that have been harmed during this production. Stay with us, for God's sake. There's over 1,000 of you staying with us here. Look, let's bring it into Emerson Royale. Russ, we'll come to you first, Emerson, because I think all of us, look, when we signed Pedro Porro, there was a relief thinking, finally got a right wing back and can actually play the wing back system. But, to respond like that to the competition with a display like that, to win the battle with Grealish, what can you say about it, Russ, to do that kind of performance?
My opinion is that defensively is very, very good. Where he isn't quite so good, but he is getting better, is offensively. But it's nitpicking today. I mean, he played with his natural ability, which, we're seeing more and more of.
Yep.
As I said at the start of the show, he's had so much stick from pretty much all of us since he came to the club, and some of it justifiable. He's taken it all on his shoulders. He's obviously had a good look at himself. He's obviously got good people around him. He's got the support of the coach and the rest of the players at the football club, and he's been a strong man, and we saw the best of him today. I never thought I would ever say that Emerson Royale was man of the match for Spurs, but I'm telling you, for my money, he definitely was. I mean, really, Harry was, because he broke the record. But if he could just get it right with crossing the ball, I mean, Pedro Porro could be a waste of money, couldn't he?
Oh, could you?
Not really.
It would be funny just thinking we've been waiting for this, and suddenly Emerson turns undroppable. Dal, to bring you in, Stellini said after the game, Emerson was one of the most important players at the end of the game. He had 2 to 3 situations where he showed his desire. It's important to have different players with different skills. Emerson showed today he's a good player. I think in the Arsenal game in October, he didn't deserve a red card and he lost his place in that moment. It created for him a problem and he needed again to find his place. In the first 5-6 games of this season, he was again this type of player. Big words there. And do you know what I've got to say, Dal? This coaching staff, Conte, Stellini, the makeup of them, they have not once ever doubted putting him back in. How big has that been for the player, in your opinion, Dal?
That's huge. Having the backing of your coach, having the backing of the team that you're playing for is huge. Because like we said, the noise outside, how much of that he's getting personally, we don't know. But he's gone off. He spent a lot of money investing in himself. And we're starting to see that on the pitch. And Russ is absolutely right. He's not the finished article by a long way. But what he has now is somebody else to learn from. Somebody else to go, you're better than me at doing that. You're better at crossing. You're better at getting yourself in the right position up there. And like we said before, there are certain games where having an Emerson is going to be what we needed. Because Grealish today, for the first 45 minutes, was playing like a left back. Because that's what happened to him. He couldn't push forward. Anytime he came forward, that header that Emerson did in the first 20 minutes when Grealish thought he was in, a back post, and Emerson appeared out of nowhere, that epitomized the man today. He was there when he needed to be. And I think sometimes Spurs fans forget about that. Defensively, that last-ditch tackle, that header at the back post, he's there. He's so switched on. But going forward, he hasn't got all the juices yet. He hasn't got all the ingredients. But that man is working. That man's working hard. And like we said about our fan base, if we back him, he gets better. It's like anything. If you support it, if you give it love, it grows. It wants to improve. It wants to do it for you as much as themselves. If we batter him, he's not going to do it. So now we're in a good place with him. I hope that someone in his social media team shows him all today's posts and go, look what they're saying about you, my man. Look at you.
Agree.
And let him run forward with that in his kit bag because, there's gold in there. I don't know how much gold. It made us be like 9-carat gold, not like 24-carat gold, but there's gold in there.
Yeah, I mean, look, there are a lot of comments in agreement with what you're saying there. Another man that, I mentioned, has seemed to take a lot of stick recently again. And, whenever he gets stick, he seems to come through it, similar to Emerson. That's Pierre Højbjerg. I mean, Cracks, you claimed him out of love, the dustman, for the work he does in terms of, getting around the pitch, covering so much. And, today he makes that goal, Pierre Højbjerg, through the sheer desire and commitment to press hard. And that's what, again, I say, the fans in that stadium react to that press. They react to that front foot mentality. And I've said this before, if you play like that every single week at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, you'll get that love, you'll get that adulation, you'll get that support. You saw today, there was not one moment, in my opinion, where that atmosphere dipped.
No.
The fans were with the players for the full 96 minutes of the game because they saw a willingness, a desire to go forward and press an opposition and not be scared and be brave. And I've got to say, for me, I thought Højbjerg was immense today. So clever at winning the tackles, breaking up the play. That experience in the middle there, Cracks, he was superb, wasn't he, Emil Højbjerg?
I've doubted Højbjerg last few weeks. I'm looking and I'm thinking to myself, is this really a man that can take us forward, take us up to that next level? And today, again, like Emerson Royal, I've been proved wrong. There he was, being the dustman. But he's more than a dustman now, isn't he? He cleans up, he mops up all that crap in the middle, and he's just got that desire, that will, that want, he's falling to the floor, Rick, and he stretches a leg out as a last minute, last second, last stretch, last ditched thing. And he just puts that ball through to Kane. And then Kane does what Kane does. So this just shows you the importance of being a team, not just being Harry Kane, because Kane doesn't score that goal today unless Pierre Højbjerg does what he does, because he doesn't get that ball unless Højbjerg does what he does. So you've got to have a Højbjerg there doing what he does to give Kane that opportunity. He's gone, isn't he? He's falling over and he just stretches that leg. Can I can I just get that touch through? And he does. And then Kane is Kane. So it just shows you that it's so important to be a team, isn't it? It really is important that every last sinew of Højbjerg is, can I get that touch on the ball? And that's won us the game. That has won us the game. Of course, Kane's got to put it away, but 90% of that is Højbjerg doing what Højbjerg's done. But it goes back to that point where Lloris has been confident and good today, and that's fed into Dyer, who was immense today as well, by the way, who's fed into Romero, who was immense today. And Romero is Romero at the moment, and Royal was immense, and Sonny was, and they all fed off of each other, and they fed the crowd, and the crowd fed them, and it's just that perpetual circle, isn't it? Yeah. If you can see them giving everything on the pitch, you give it back from the stands. And we've said before, you know, the cost of living at the moment for people is horrendous. Everybody's got bills coming out of their ears that are just nuts. But if you're giving 50, 60, 70, 80 pounds a game and you're not getting much back from the team, then you're going to be in a bad mood. You're going to be in a bad place. But nobody, not one man, woman or child's going to come out that ground today and say to themselves, I think that was a waste of money today, because they've given you some value for what you've paid for your money. That's all anybody can ever ask.
Forgive me a Sean,
you can ever ask.
Yeah, forgive me a Sean Dyche term. That was sweat on the shirt, wasn't it? That was sweat on the shirt.
It was sweat on the shirt. Yes,
every player.
It was almost like today. Sean Dyche was in the dugout, wasn't it? Hey, that's your job, by the way. I'm sure. God bless Sean Dyche. You know,
it was
everybody.
I've got to say,
everybody gave
everything,
as much as they could. But listen, on Romero, he's a young lad. He's still a young lad, and I've said before that we're probably going to lose him for a few games here and now because he walks that line. But that's his game. But that was also Eric Cantona's game. He walked the line and then he matured, and he matured into an unbelievable player. Wayne Rooney, he played angry all the time, but as he matured, he channeled it. Ronaldo, when he was a kid, when I first see him like sign for Man United, and he was all over the place, but he matured and he channeled it. And I think you've got that with Romero. So maybe for another couple of seasons, we've got to put up with Romero and what he currently is. But once he gets to 25, 26, if we still got him and he learns to channel that aggression and what he does, a little bit better decision making, he's an unbelievable talent. He's absolutely unbelievable. You're always going to have a battle with him over club v country, always, and that is just that's just a cultural trait of being Hispanic, South American. You're always going to put up with that. But when you have got him at the club and he is in your back three, back four, wow, you've got some defender there. You really have. You've got to stick with him. You've got to put up with this odd red card. You've got to put up with him maturing and learning. And when he does, when that finally clicks, like those other players I mentioned, you've got a defender on your hands there. One of the best in the world. Unbelievable.
Russ is bringing you in there, Russ. Go for it, Russ.
Well, I just wanted to say on Højbjerg, this is nothing to do with his physical appearance, but if you're an ugly player, but the team is playing well, you look more beautiful than normal. And I think that when a team is playing badly and you're an ugly player, you really can look even more ugly. And I think that's what maybe has attracted some criticism. And it isn't necessarily his fault. I mean, I would like to see our midfield, Bentancur, Højbjerg, and a locksmith. Somebody who's creative in midfield, been saying it for years. We all have.
Yep.
And that's the missing bit, and 2 central defenders.
Could you imagine, Russ, a James Maddison in this team or someone of that ilk?
We should be walking to Leicester, crawling to Leicester. You know, and Daniel Levy should say, how much you want for him, Leicester? We'll give you 10 million more. We want him now.
Yeah.
He is that good. Scored at the weekend, you know.
It's a lock picker. It's a lock picker. There you go, the lock picker. I agree, Russ. Listen, how long have I said that last one on Spurs time and time again to kind of get a plan like that in this squad? For me, that's the missing part. That and another central defender for sure. I mean, imagine Romero next to someone, as we've said, of an elite level with him. This team will be going somewhere. Again, today has proved that we're not far away. You know, we're not far away, being honest with you. We've always said this, that arguably with Tottenham, we come out of a window, we're always 2 or 3 players short. Believe me, you get those 2 or 3 players, Conte won't get a better squad than this anywhere he goes. It's the Premier League. You know, I've said it before. He wants to be here. It's the best league in the world. He's in the best training ground to train the players. He's in the best stadium to manage them. Just go and give him those extra couple of players. And my God, what we could have on our hands here. Just to finish on a couple of players, if I can, Dal. Bentancur. Now, we've talked about Romero a second ago being able to play, you know, smart and cute on a yellow card. Bentancur had to do it for most of that game today, but he covered every blade of grass and used the ball so well. How important has it been, Dal, to see him back in a Spurs team?
I've said it many a time about Bentancur. He is a football genius. His football brain is immense. Just watch how he leads. He's forever instructing players where to play the ball, even if it's not a pass for him. He's telling everybody else, play it there, do it there, move it there. His football brain is immense. And what he gives in confidence to that Spurs side is undoubtedly, you can't put a money, you can't put a price tag on it, nothing. And like you said, the in-game genius, he was booked early and he managed himself. No one had to manage him. He managed himself. He knew where he had to be. He knew what pockets to be in. And also, we speak about having a Maddison in our team. I know we're screaming for that type of player, but we've always been screaming for a Bentancur as well. A player who breaks the line with a pass, who moves the ball in transition a little bit quicker, which allows Spurs to get forward quicker. Son is always on his toes when Bentancur's got the ball. He knows he's going to get it early. He knows the pass is coming. And that just builds the confidence in the squad. It builds the confidence in the stadium. I honestly, I think we'll look back in this short period of time of that window of Kulusevski and Bentancur and go, wow. Those 2 individuals, because I know a lot of people don't talk about Kulusevski today. I think someone in the comments mentioned Son. Son was great today. He's getting back to his best. The smile is coming back.
I'm glad you brought him up, Dal. Him and Kulusevski both worked so hard today. You know, I think Kulu was a great outlet down that right. He really gave Lewis a tough examination for him in the Premier League, probably one of his hardest. And Heung-min Son, I think, you know, based on that performance today, it suggests there's confidence there that the form is returning. But the day will belong to Harry Kane. After the game, we saw Antonio face up in Harry saying, "You make me proud." Again, Ryan Sessegnon playing his part towards the end, coming on. Basuma helping see out the game. Sanchez standing tall for those 3 minutes plus stoppages. And just to give you some hope and belief moving forward about what we've got on that bench, Richarlison, Danjuma, Porro, Longley, all not used today. So just a reminder that whilst, as well as me, I've been screaming and shouting about we need more, we have to get more investment. We've got players here that aren't even used today that would arguably walk into this 11. So I think that is the right way to end the show. It will be Harry's day. It most certainly will. Russ, thank you so much, mate, for your time. Loved having you back on. We'll have you back on very soon, Russ, I'm sure.
I hope so. I mean, thank you, Ricky, for having me on. And thank you to everyone who's listening and watching. We've had brilliant comments tonight. Yeah. Great to see Darren and Crackers again. And obviously I'm off to the vets urgently after the broadcast ends. And next time I'm going to bring my parrot with me.
Oh, God, we've got all animals here.
We won, baby.
Honestly.
But come on, you Spurs. And let's hope, as Darren said, you know, we're going to push on now and get that top 4, because it will be an amazing way for us to finish the season. And we absolutely could do it. I watched Newcastle like a lot of us did against West Ham, and they're not as good as they think they are.
Oh, so, Russ, it wouldn't do me a disservice if I don't ask you where, because every time you come on, we've got new listeners, new viewers, new subscribers, and the first thing they always say when they hear you, "Oh, I love that man's voice. I love that man's voice." It is like, you know, the honey. I think
voice is like this, Ricky. I've got a special machine down here. I press a button, and there you go.
Russ, where can we hear you on the day today?
Nation
Please.
Radio tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock. Propaganda, great music. And yeah, on the app, smart speaker, DAB, FM, if you're in Scotland, Wales, South Coast. Great fun. But thanks for having us on.
Honestly. Always a pleasure, mate. We'll be back in touch soon. We need you back in touch soon, Russ. I've got a little one dropping very, very soon. Not literally, just to be very clear. Not like the dog.
Don't drop that. I did it.
Definitely don't do that for sure. Definitely don't do that for sure. Dal, mate, you travelled the globe for us today, mate. Thank you so much. Always a pleasure having you on Last Word on Spurs. And I've got to say, Dal is generally, when you invite Dal on, it normally is a positive win. He's had some difficult therapy sessions. Ricky Norb will tell you, one of his besties. He'll tell you he's had difficult sessions. But Dal, how big was that today? And where can people find the wonderful content and work you do alongside Last Word on Spurs? We love having you on as a regular now, of course, as you know.
Bless you. It's great to be part of the family. And everyone who was waiting for the start of the show, it was me. I've been travelling around today. Today's been mental. So they delayed for me. So the Love Island crossover is my fault. You can find me interrupting I'll probably be interrupting Love Island at some point. I'll probably be in a
You're not going in there as well, are you, Dal? I'll see you in about half hour.
I'll be there.
He's the latest bombshell, by the way, dropping in. Give it half hour. He'll be in there.
I'm just going to put my tan on. Don't worry. I'm just going to put the stripping vest. I'll be there. But yeah, I'm all over the place doing lots of bits and bobs, keeping busy, but always making time for Last Word on Spurs. And look forward to seeing you guys very, very soon. I'll be back before you know it.
He will be back before you know it. The wonderful Darren Hartman and Cracks. It only feels right to close it with you. Look, we've had some difficult shows over the past few months. This has got to be right up there, Cracks, one of our favourite of the season, hasn't it? Been a wonderful show, great guests, great audience, my ad. About 1,500 of you been watching this live, and you've not left us there. There's still about over 1,300 of you still watching. Sum it up for us, Cracks, please.
It's like been taking new shoes off today, isn't it? There's been previous shows we've been wearing new shoes and they've rubbed, and today we've taken them off and put a lovely old pair of slippers on, haven't we? So look, I've got to know Hartman over the years and done a few shows together, broke bread together, had a couple of beers together. He's a top man. I absolutely love Hartman. His positivity. He's a top actor. He's a top man. He's just one of life's good guys. That's all you can say. And you know what, Rick? With Russ, we've all been out and we've all had a few too many drinks, haven't we? You wake up the next morning and you're all over the place. All you can ever hope for is someone to bring you a big cup of tea, a bacon sandwich, and if you could have Russ Williams there mopping your brow and saying to you, there, crackers, you'll be okay. You'll be okay with that voice, because it's like gold and honey being poured in your ears, isn't it? It really is. And Russ is just such a legend, isn't he? Even though he breaks dogs, he's still a legend. He's an absolute legend.
He can still walk. He's got 3 legs. It's possible.
Listen, Ledley played with 1 knee. It's possible. I believe me. I've watched him for 20 years. He could do it.
Rick,
I'm telling you, he could do it.
It's an absolute honour to be invited on and come and speak on the show and speak to 1,500 people tuning in, and everybody that feeds into the show and the comments and yourself and all the guests. It's just always a pleasure, mate. And today, you know, even if you don't get a result today, just to all gather and speak is such an honour, no matter what the result is. If you get the result, it's the cherry on the top. It really is.
I agree. Listen, I must say that massive thanks to these wonderful humans. They've given us over nearly 2 hours of their time. Again, the audience, thank you so much for all of your wonderful, wonderful support. Guys, we are going to be back with you very, very soon. Look, we're covering every single Spurs game. These beautiful guys will be on your screen very, very soon. From the brilliant Mr. Cracknell, from the superb Russ Williams, from the sensational Darren Hartman, we've been the Last Word on Spurs. Please, guys, keep safe, keep well. And as always, come on, you Spurs.